everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today with my colleague Alejandra Chiesa. Next slide, please. We're going to be talking about the value of green schoolyards and schoolyard forests today in our portion of the presentation. And first, I want to tell you about our organization. We work with Green Schoolyards America, which is a nonprofit organization that works nationally to inspire and support systems change that will transform asphalt-covered school grounds into living schoolyards that improve children's well-being, learning, and play while strengthening their community's ecological health and climate resilience. And we're working overall to shift the paradigm for how school grounds are designed, used, and managed so all children will have access to the natural world in the places that they visit every day. Next. We're first going to focus on why school grounds matter. Next. The reason is that across the United States, we have almost 50 million K-12 public school students who attend school every day on thousands of square miles of public land. And many of our school grounds look like this, and they offer very little to improve the well-being of students, their communities, or the environment. Next. School grounds across the country need systemic investment so that they can reach their potential to be thriving centers for learning, public health, community access to nature, and climate and ecological resilience. Another important reason is equity. The access to nature is not evenly distributed across the country in our public green spaces. So if we made every school a green schoolyard with nature-rich grounds, we'd have the potential to connect every child with nature every day. Next. And our grounds that we have right now in most American schoolyards were serving 1940s educational practices. And today's curricula includes hands-on place-based learning that really needs to have updated environments and educational resources. And it's also important about the collective impact of all the land that all the school districts manage, because school districts are one of the biggest land managers in every city, and the choices that they make are important and together impact the environmental footprint of their whole city and the health of the children and the communities. So first, what am I saying when I talk about living schoolyards or green schoolyards? First of all, we use those terms interchangeably. The living schoolyard term kind of emphasizes the live part of the grounds a little more, so we've grown to like that more. But they are richly layered park-like environments that strengthen local ecological systems and climate resilience while providing place-based hands-on learning resources and vibrant play and social spaces for children of all ages. So imagine them like a big park on a school ground. And schoolyard forests are a subset of those kind of park-like spaces. They are places that have clusters of trees within a green schoolyard. They're planted in the places that children regularly have access to during the school day, so inside the schoolyard. They are multi-use spaces with high canopies, and they can be used for learning and play, and they also act as climate oases that shade and protect students from extreme heat. Next. So some of the design goals we use for schoolyard forests is that they are planted in these big groves that you can see. Here's an example where kids can get underneath the shade and have an oasis from the heat. Next. We also try to design schoolyard forests to be biodiverse using climate-adapted tree planting pellets with high biodiversity and many large tree species mixed in. Next. And also have a design goal of including student participation in planning, design, implementation, and management stewardship. Next. And the benefits of making schoolyards in this way are as follows. Next. There's lots of great engaging learning benefits all across the K-12 spectrum in all different subject areas, and it's really convenient to be able to have these environments, hands-on learning resources right outside the classroom door. They present health benefits for both mental and physical health that give kids opportunities to have physical activity and reduce stress and improve their social emotional wellness. Next. And the health benefits of heat reduction too, of course. Environmental systems are also benefited by shifting the grounds from pavement into a landscape like this, where we have child-friendly green infrastructure designed for the children first, but that also function to support ecological systems, strengthen wildlife corridors, infiltrate stormwater, cool urban heat islands, and improve air quality. Next. And at the center, green schoolyards and schoolyard forests are about children and youth's happiness at school. And so they are places that are designed to increase children's joy, laughter, and happiness. Next. And then diving into some of the details, stormwater management benefit is key when you remove asphalt and put in permeable spaces that can can let the water soak into the ground and also harvest from roofs. And you can use the harvested water for garden irrigation. They can be small systems up to very large systems that incorporate, that infiltrate vast amounts of water. Next. Similarly, if school districts plant their grounds with wildlife in mind across their whole city, they can improve wildlife habitat patches and corridors, and particularly for species like birds and butterflies that are compatible with being on a school site. And they can think about how they can improve wildlife habitat in the city. Climate resilience, very important. Trees, when added to schools in the right places, can be buffers for the building. They can cool the areas adjacent to the building, cool the inside of the building. They can also directly shade children when they're outside and cool the outside. Next. And so diving into the climate resilience and adaptation portion a little bit more, we know, and now particularly in the summer, are all really aware that the climate crisis brings extreme heat, which can impact everyone's health, and particularly the health and well-being of children who are smaller and whose body sizes mean that they're more vulnerable to heat. And so schools across the country need to adapt their grounds to be able to be more climate resilient. And the equity issue is central here, because the schools, all schools really need more trees across the economic spectrum. But if we look at the lack of shade is particularly urgent in places that currently have the fewest trees, the hottest present and future climates, and in underserved communities, and in places where the income is lowest. And so we need to really work on those places to remove those problems. Green Schoolyards America has been measuring surface temperatures on playgrounds for the last few years, and we have seen extremely high numbers on the surfaces being chosen by schools to put on the grounds. And we think that can be shifted as well when the asphalt is removed and the trees are planted. So next. Here's an example of how the shade matters. This thermal picture on the left shows where the heat is most, and the white areas are the hottest, red second hottest. So the asphalt, you can see that the choice of using an asphalt there is particularly hot, but the shade from the tree is dropping that surface temperature by, in this case, 33 degrees. So we can choose to add shade, and we can choose the materials in school grounds and reduce urban heat island. Next. We've also been doing research across California and have looked at the tree canopy at all of the 10,000 schools in the state on 8,600 or so campuses. We know that we have about a 9% tree canopy across those school grounds on the 130,000 acres of land, and that there are more than 2 million students who attend schools that have less than 5% tree canopy on their site, and more than 4 million students out of the 5.9 million attend schools with less than 10% tree canopy on site. That's really not a lot of shade for kids. Next. Particularly when you look at where those trees are planted, and this is the case in many of our schools here that we've looked at in detail in California. I think it's also true elsewhere, where the majority of those trees that are counted as on the property are in fact in front of the school in the entranceways or around the edges where the community can enjoy them, or in the teachers' parking lots, but they are not where the children are standing. And so tree placement is really crucial to being able to protect children from the climate crisis. And so we need a paradigm shift that will transform the thousands of acres that we have of school grounds from pavement and wide open empty grass into schoolyard forests and living schoolyards. And that requires coordination and collaboration. And so we have founded the National Schoolyard Forest System to support this transition. And this initiative is a new initiative that will increase tree canopy on public school grounds across the US to directly shade and protect pre-K to 12 students from extreme heat and rising temperatures due to climate change. And California is the first state in the National Schoolyard Forest System, and my colleague Alejandra will talk about our work on the California Schoolyard Forest System now.